Now that we understand the definition of net worth, and we understand that we want to increase that net worth, meaning that we want to get rich, I want to ask you this question. Have you ever thought about this? Do you want to get rich fast? I assume the answer to that is yes, because whenever we have this conversation with our clients or within the workshops that we do with the same material, everyone says, most people say yes. And to that, we always say, okay, we know ways to get rich fast. The first one is to win a lottery. The second one is to get an inheritance. And the third one is to find a genie and ask it to make you rich. And that is a really bad way of saying that we do not know of a consistent way to get rich fast, and nobody else in the world does either. Everything that you hear in the social media nowadays, that okay, go buy this particular cryptocurrency, go buy this meme coin, it's gonna go to the moon, you're gonna become rich overnight. All of that is very, very similar to the first one that we have here, which is winning the lottery, which is essentially gambling. There is no strategy in there. They just offer you an idea of an investment, and usually what happens is that other people make money off of that because they actually convince everyone else that they need to buy it, and then they start selling off your portion of what they owned in that particular cryptocurrency or whatever other investment that existed, and then you are going to use money and they are going to get rich off of it. So again, think about this. If there was a consistent way, if there was a surefire strategy to make a lot of money fast, and that was repeatable, then it would break all of the financial markets in the world. If this path existed, everyone would be doing that. Everyone who is a fund manager in Wall Street or in different kind of financial markets, everyone would be doing that. And then it would basically collapse the whole financial markets, all of it. So that alone could tell you there is not a surefire, there is not a specific strategy, there is not a repeatable long-term strategy that you can employ to get rich fast. And we definitely have no way to suggest to you as well. So the rest of this course is going to be us moving away from that idea of getting rich fast. So now that we know we cannot get rich fast, we need to get rich slow. But when we say rich, how rich are we actually talking about? Just pause for a moment now and think about your life. Consider your current job and whatever you are getting paid. And think about how much money do you think you can acquire, you can gather by the time that you want to retire in your life, by the time that you want to stop working. Think about it and come out with a number. Write it down on a piece of paper. Do not think about some random, like hypothetical situation that might happen, like you winning a lottery or you all of a sudden creating a business that makes it like billions and billions of kroners or whatever like that. So don't think of those weird scenarios. Think of your regular life, assuming that you're going to be in the job that you are in right now, get some promotions down the line, have the similar trajectory to what you have been having so far. How much money do you think you are going to be able to gather for yourself? Write that on a piece of paper. I'm gonna throw out a number here, and that number is 56 million kroners. And in order for you to understand where that number comes from, this is the amount of money that a couple who are 30 years old and have two net incomes of 35,000 kroners per month, this is the amount of money, this is the amount of wealth that they can build for themselves by the time they retire. if they invest 35% of their income. Okay, so there's a number for you. Now we said how rich we are gonna get potentially. We have a rough number, we know what is possible. Now we want to understand how to actually move forward. We said that is how rich, and now we want to talk about how slow are we talking about in this scenario. And in order to understand that, we need to understand the concept of compound interest. This is one of the most important things that you can learn in this course, because this exactly tells you what is the long-term strategy that you can employ to make more and more and more money for yourself. So let's get started with a quote from Albert Einstein. This quote is attributed to Albert Einstein. Nobody knows if he actually said it or not, but we are going to assume from now on that it did. So the quote is, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Now we're going to dissect this quote. In order to understand this, I want to run you through a simple example. There's a little bit of math here. Don't get discouraged. This is quite simple. I'm just going to give you the basics of what compound interest is. Imagine a scenario that you're going to come to me and say, from today, I want to save 1,000 kroners per month, right? Very simple, 1,000 kroners per month. And then I tell you, okay, that's a good idea. If you give me 1,000 kroners per month, I'm gonna return an additional 1% of your money every month, right? So look at the first row here. If you give me 1,000 kroner in a month, which is your savings for that month, I'm gonna give you 1% on top of it, and then you're gonna end up with 1,010 kroners at the end of that month, right? Then you have that balance, you have this much money. Then you carry that over to next month. Next month you add another 1,000 kroner because you said I'm gonna save 1,000 kroners per month. And now you're gonna add this 1,000 kroners to whatever you had before, which is 1,010 kroners. Now I'm gonna pay you 1% on top of that 2,010 kroners. So that extra 10 kroner that you got from last month is also getting that 1% interest. So at the end of this month, you have 2,030 kroner, and then you continue with the same path. So essentially, the whole idea of compound interest is that if you do this multiple times, you are gonna earn interest on the interest that you earned before. So not only you get interest on the money that you put in, you also get interest on top of the interest that you acquired as well. In order to understand and compare numbers, if you had just saved, like put away 1,000 kroners per month, at the end of a year, you would have 12,000 kroners, obviously, right? But if you apply this idea of 1% interest per month, then at the end of the year, you're going to have 12,800 kroner. That number might sound still low to you. It's more than 12,000, but still seems low. And you might ask, oh, are we talking about that difference, 12,000 to 12,800? I don't care about it. 800 is not that much. And then to that, I'm going to say, this is where the slow part, this is where the long-term part comes in. So in order to understand that, let's compare two scenarios. You are going to put away 1,000 kroners per month, just saving with no interest. And we are going to compare that with what happens if you save that 1,000 kroners per month, but you actually invested somewhere. You put it somewhere that you get some interest out of it, right? So this is the comparison. So the first one is not getting any interest, so it's 0% interest, you're just saving. The second one is getting an 8% interest per year. We're gonna talk about it later, why we chose 8%. But this is the comparison. So in 5 years, if you do this for 5 years, just saving, you're gonna have 60,000 kroners. If you get that compound interest on top of it, you're gonna have 73,500 kroner almost. If you do this for 10 years, then it's the difference between 120,000 kroners and 182,000 kroners. Now you're seeing the difference being wider and wider. If you do this for 20 years, it's the difference between 240,000 kroners and 590,000 kroners. More than double. Now you're actually seeing the difference. And if you do this for 40 years, it's the difference between 480,000 kroners and 3.5 million kroners. So that is why the idea of compound interest is so important to understand. Because just saving is not going to get you anywhere. You are not going to achieve your financial goals with simply just saving long term. You need to start taking advantage of compound interest, and that is possible through investing, which we are going to talk about later. So looking at all those graphs, what do you think the biggest contributor to building wealth is? The biggest contributor to building wealth is time. Remember the difference between those numbers as we increase the time horizon, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, and you saw huge differences when the time increased. So time is the biggest contributor in building wealth. So that's why the sooner you understand everything that we are saying here and the sooner you start acting, the more money you can build for yourself. If you're 20 years old right now, you have a huge opportunity to build a lot of wealth for yourself with not much effort and not much cost, not as much cost as you would think so. If you are 40 years old, you have less time, but you still have a good amount of time until you retire. So time is the biggest factor in building wealth. In order to understand that, just see the differences. So going from 5 years to 10 years, so top left to top right, it's 2 times the amount of time, but it's 2.5 times the money that you're gonna have. Going from 10 years to 20 years, it's again double the time, but it's 3.2 times the money. And going from 20 to 40 years, again, it's double the time, but it's 5.96 times the money. So you see that exponential growth. You see that this growth is no longer linear because we are not just saving, we are actually leveraging compound interest. So the more time goes by, the more money that I build for myself. With time being the biggest contributor to building wealth, and based on all the graphs that we showed, what is the second biggest contributor to building wealth? The second biggest is your consistent amount of investments. Remember, in all of those graphs, we said you are investing 1,000 kroners per month every single month for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years. And where does that money come from? That money that you actually put into investments or savings, where does it come from? It comes from your margin. And that's why in the beginning we said that your margin is what makes you rich. Again, it's your margin, not your income. If you get paid net 50,000 kroners per month, but you are actually spending 49,000 kroners per month, then you don't have much to save and invest. But conversely, if you have 20,000 kroners per month, but your cost is 10,000 kroners per month, you have 10,000 kroner extra that part of it can be put through this investment. So this is why we say your margin is way more important than your income. So instead of focusing on your income, focus on your margin. Understand your margin first. We are going to have the last part of this course is going to run through how you can calculate your margin, how you can optimize your margin, and how you can allocate part of that into your investings, and how you're going to actually reach your goals. So we're going to come to that.